Let me tell you something that will shift your life if you let it in. You will never become who you were born to be by watching someone else live their life. We live in a world where everybody's looking over the fence, scrolling, comparing, judging, competing, and while your eyes are on them, your purpose is passing you by. So today we bring it back to center, to truth, to you. Here are 6 truths, 6 calls to action, to reclaim your power by focusing where it belongs, on yourself. You are not here to replicate, you are here to radiate. That truth alone could set you free if you're brave enough to believe it. Too many people are walking around trying to become a carbon copy of someone else, thinking that if they dress like them, sound like them, or move like them, they'll succeed like them. But life doesn't work that way. What's meant for you will never be reached by mimicking someone else's moves. The light inside of you isn't asking you to duplicate. It's demanding that you illuminate *, and you cannot shine fully when your energy is tied up in someone else's identity. From the time we are young, we're told to fit in, blend in, don't stand out too much, don't ruffle feathers, and over time we start shaving down the edges of our individuality to fit into molds that were never designed for us. But here's the truth no one teaches you early enough. Your difference is your destiny. The very thing you've been hiding might be the exact key to your breakthrough. You've been trying to shrink your voice, hide your quirks, smooth out your story, and yet your power lives in all of that. You were not created to blend in with the background. You are the main character of your life, and the moment you start living like it, everything shifts. Every time you choose to silence your intuition and follow someone else's script, you dishonor the deepest parts of who you are. There is no success worth having that requires you to abandon yourself in the process. Yes, we can learn from others. Yes, we can be inspired. But there is a fine line between inspiration and imitation, and too many people have crossed that line without even realizing it. You do not need to walk someone else's path to reach your destiny. Yours may look different, it may feel unfamiliar, and it may scare you. But that's the path that leads to *. That's the path that leads to fulfillment. Authenticity is not a marketing tactic. It is not a trend or a branding strategy. It is your soul in motion. It is the courageous choice to show up in the world exactly as you are, without apology, without performance. And that kind of boldness, that kind of truth, it is magnetic. When you choose to be fully yourself, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror, a light, a signal to the world that originality still matters in a time when conformity is glorified. You don't have to try to stand out when you're standing fully in your truth. There is a unique frequency to your presence. No one else has your story, your scars, your strength. No one else sees the world through your exact lens, feels things the way you do, or expresses like you do. So why would you waste your energy trying to match someone else's rhythm? Why would you dim your own brilliance to echo a voice that isn't yours? The world doesn't need more duplicates. The world is starving for people brave enough to be real, raw, and rooted in who they truly are. Be that person. Be the one who breaks the mold, not the one who becomes it. You owe it to yourself to stop chasing someone else's dream. You owe it to your calling to stop renting your identity just to fit into someone else's version of success. You have your own blueprint, crafted, wired, and imprinted with purpose. And when you trust it, when you follow it, when you focus fully on becoming the highest, boldest, truest version of yourself, everything else aligns. Doors open, people shift, opportunities rise, but it all begins with one choice: to stop replicating and start radiating. Comparison is a thief, and it never shows mercy. It doesn't knock politely or ask for permission. It barges into your mind, your confidence, your peace, and begins to dismantle everything you've built. It plants seeds of doubt, waters them with insecurity, and before you know it, you're questioning your worth. You're looking at your life through someone else's lens, wondering why you don't have what they have, why your journey doesn't look like theirs. But here's the truth, asterisk asterisk, you cannot win a race you were never meant to run. Asterisk asterisk, their pace isn't your pace. Their timing isn't your timing, and their path was never meant to be your destination. The danger of comparison is that it disguises itself as motivation. You think you're just trying to improve, just staying inspired, but deep down, something starts to shift. Instead of feeling energized, you start to feel empty. Instead of feeling driven, you feel defeated. You begin to see their success as your failure. You forget how far you've come because you're so obsessed with where they are. And the worst part, you're not even comparing reality, you're comparing your behind the scenes with their highlight reel, their curated, filtered, edited version of life, and it's not real, but the damage it does to your spirit, that's asterisk very asterisk real. When you live in a state of constant comparison, you develop a habit of self-abandonment. You stop honoring your journey, you stop acknowledging your growth. You start making decisions not from your purpose, but from your insecurity. You say yes to things you don't want. You pursue goals that don't fulfill you, all because you're trying to keep up with an image that was never meant to define you. Let that sink in. Asterisk asterisk, you may be shaping your life around someone else's identity and losing your own in the process. Asterisk asterisk, that is the cost of unchecked comparison. That is the price of chasing shadows. You don't need to compete with anyone to become who you're meant to be. The only competition that matters is between the version of you yesterday and the version of you today. Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you becoming more aligned with your truth? That's what counts. Not their followers, not their house, not their salary or stage or spotlight. Your value is not determined by someone else's visibility, and your timing is not late just because someone else got there first. Asterisk asterisk, you are not behind, you are becoming. Asterisk asterisk, stay grounded in that. It takes strength to shift your focus back inward. It takes maturity to say, I bless their journey, but I choose to honor mine. Because honoring yourself means rejecting the lie that you're not enough. It means rewriting the story that says you have to hustle to be worthy, grind to be seen, or prove yourself to people who were never meant to validate you in the first place. The truth is, when you're deeply aligned with your purpose, you stop craving applause. You stop needing comparison to motivate you because your fuel comes from within. That's where the fire lives. That's where your power begins. Every moment you spend comparing your life to someone else's is a moment you're not investing in your own growth. And that is a cost you can't afford. The world needs what you bring, your voice, your vision, your essence. It's irreplaceable, but it can't shine when it's covered in doubt. You were not designed to be a copy. You were designed to evolve into the fullest expression of yourself, and that evolution cannot happen while your eyes are locked on someone else's progress. Look forward, look inward. That's where your freedom lives. Your energy is currency, and it's time you start spending it like it matters, because it does. You only get so much of it each day. Your thoughts, your focus, your emotional investment. And how you use it determines the direction of your life. Yet too many people waste this precious currency on things that don't serve them, on gossip, on jealousy, on scrolling endlessly through other people's lives, on arguments that go nowhere and opinions that don't matter. And then they wonder why they feel depleted, distracted, discouraged. The truth is, you can't build a powerful life with your energy scattered in a million directions. If you want to elevate, you have to protect your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. Every time you choose to engage in drama or indulge in petty distractions, you're writing a check your spirit can't cash. You're investing in chaos instead of clarity, growth instead of noise, and don't be fooled. Distraction is a form of sabotage. It looks harmless on the surface, a little gossip here, a little venting there, but underneath, it's stealing your time, your focus, your alignment, because when you make other people the center of your attention, you move further away from your purpose. And energy follows attention, so if your attention is on their life, their flaws, their story, your energy is too, and that means your power isn't with asterisk you asterisk, it's bleeding out, slowly, silently. You cannot rise and tear down at the same time. You cannot create and complain in the same breath. You cannot grow while remaining obsessed with things beneath your calling. So ask yourself, where's your energy going? Into your dreams or into distractions? Into your healing or into judgment, into creation or into comparison, because the truth is, whatever you feed grows. If you keep feeding drama, it will multiply. If you keep feeding negativity, it will thrive. But if you start pouring your energy into building something real, your mindset, your habits, your purpose, then asterisk you asterisk will begin to multiply. That's where transformation begins, with conscious, intentional focus. And this isn't about being perfect, it's about being precise. It's about learning how to check in with yourself and ask, is this fueling me or draining me? Is this conversation adding value or subtracting from my peace? Because not every battle is yours to fight. Not every invitation is yours to accept. Not every opinion deserves a response. Elevation requires boundaries, not just with people, but with habits, with thoughts, with the parts of you that still crave validation from places that never offered real worth. And when you get serious about your energy, you stop negotiating your peace for temporary connection. Your presence is powerful, but it loses its impact when it's diluted across too many distractions. Some people walk into a room and shift the atmosphere, not because they're loud, but because they're asterisk aligned asterisk. Their energy is focused, clear, directed. You can feel when someone has done the work, when they've stopped giving their energy to things that don't grow them. And the truth is, you can become that person, not by trying harder, but by choosing wiser, by redirecting your energy toward what truly matters, toward what builds, what heals, what lasts. So stop spending your currency on things that don't pay you back. Gossip doesn't build legacies, bitterness doesn't build wealth, petty distractions don't build peace, focus builds, purpose builds, integrity builds, and when you stop leaking energy into places that weren't meant for you, you'll start to rise. Not because you're doing more, but because you've finally stopped giving your power away. Silence the noise to hear your calling. In today's world, the volume is turned all the way up opinions, judgments, expectations, trends. Everyone is talking, few are listening, and even fewer are still enough to hear their own soul. There's a constant pull to stay connected to the external, what's happening online, what people are saying, what you should be doing. But the more you stay tuned into the world, the more disconnected you become from yourself, and purpose doesn't shout, it doesn't beg for your attention, it speaks softly, quietly from within, and if you're too loud, too distracted, too externally focused, you'll miss it every time. There is power in stillness, not weakness, not laziness, but power, the kind of power that can only be accessed when you unplug from the noise and plug back into your truth. It's in the still moments that clarity emerges. It's when you finally slow down that you start to remember who you are, not who they told you to be, not who social media rewards, but who you actually are beneath the layers of performance, pressure, and pretending. And let's be honest, some of us have been performing for so long we've forgotten what our real voice even sounds like. That's why silence is not just a break, it's a homecoming. You don't need another trend. You need a truth. You don't need more opinions. You need asterisk direction. Asterisk, and that direction isn't out there, it's in you, but it won't rise to the surface until you get quiet enough to let it. We're trained to react instantly. Swipe, respond, scroll, compare, but your calling doesn't operate on demand. It takes time, it takes intentional space. You have to carve it out like sacred ground. Because if you're always reacting to everything around you, you'll never respond to what's rising within you, and your calling isn't going to compete with the noise. It waits patiently until you're ready to listen. Most people are uncomfortable with silence because it forces them to face themselves. When it's quiet, you start hearing the questions you've been avoiding. You start noticing the gap between the life you're living and the life you want to live. And that discomfort, that tension, that's where transformation begins, not in the noise, not in the busyness. In the silence, in the pause, but we avoid it because it confronts us with the truth. And truth is not always convenient. It challenges us, it stretches us, it exposes the areas where we've settled. And if you're not willing to get honest with yourself, you'll stay stuck in cycles that feel familiar but lead nowhere. The voice of your purpose will never yell over chaos. It's not going to force its way into a life you've filled with distractions. You've got to create space for it. You've got to slow down long enough to ask yourself, what do I want? What lights me up? What feels aligned for my future? Those questions aren't selfish. They're sacred because if you don't answer them, the world will answer for you. And the answers won't reflect your truth. They'll reflect trends, expectations, noise, and you'll wake up one day in a life that looks good from the outside but feels hollow inside. That's what happens when you live loud but never live true. So give yourself permission to disconnect, not to escape, but to reconnect, to remember your power, to recalibrate your vision, to hear what's been waiting for you beneath the surface. You don't find clarity in chaos, you find it in calm, you find it in courage, the courage to turn down the noise, the courage to be with yourself, the courage to trust the whisper of your calling, even when it's faint, even when no one else can hear it yet. Because that whisper, that's where the real you begins. You teach the world how to treat you by how you treat yourself. That's not just a motivational quote. It's a truth that will shape your entire life if you let it. Self-respect isn't about arrogance or ego. It's about establishing a standard for your life and refusing to lower it. It's about honoring your boundaries, your voice, your needs, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Too many people are waiting for someone else to validate them, affirm them, recognize their worth, but until you do, nothing they say will ever be enough. You'll keep chasing love, approval, attention, and still feel empty, because what you haven't given to yourself, no one else can ever fully provide. Respect starts with your choices, the way you speak to yourself when no one's listening, the promises you make and keep to yourself, the decisions you make about who gets access to your time, your energy, your space. Every time you say yes to what you really mean no to, you chip away at your own integrity. Every time you tolerate disrespect, brush off mistreatment, or silence your truth to keep the peace, you send a message to yourself that your needs don't matter, and people will follow your lead. If you act like your worth is negotiable, they'll start negotiating it. You cannot demand from others what you have not first demonstrated for yourself. Want to be loved with depth, love yourself that way first. Want to be spoken to with kindness, speak to yourself that way first. Want to be respected, respect yourself in the dark, in the quiet, in the moments when no one's watching. This is not just self-honor, it's a decision to rise to a higher level of living. Not from ego, but from alignment. Because when you truly value yourself, you stop settling for situations that don't reflect that value. And suddenly, the people who are comfortable with the old version of you start falling away. Not because you're cruel, but because you've changed the rules of engagement. Boundaries are not barriers. They are bridges to healthy relationships, but setting them starts within. And let's be clear, setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about pulling yourself closer to what is true, real, and healthy. It's about choosing peace over performance, truth over approval, and wholeness over attachment. When you draw a line in the sand and say, "This is what I will and will not accept," you are not being difficult. You are being responsible with your life. You are protecting your purpose, because every time you allow someone to cross a boundary unchecked, you delay your own growth. Your standard is your signature. The way you carry yourself, the way you walk into a room, the way you handle your relationships, your dreams, your time. It all speaks before you ever open your mouth, and people notice. Energy doesn't lie. If you're rooted in self-respect, it shows. It doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it simply is asterisk, and that kind of quiet confidence, that kind of unshakable self-worth, it can't be faked, it can't be borrowed. It has to be built, decision by decision, boundary by boundary, and once it's there, it's unmovable. So the real question isn't whether people respect you. It's whether you respect you. Whether you show up for yourself with the same loyalty, the same devotion, the same commitment you so often give to others. That's where it begins, with your words, with your standards, with your presence. And when you raise those standards, you don't just change the way people treat you. You change the way life responds to you, because the universe doesn't respond to begging. It responds to belief, and when you believe in your own worth, everything begins to shift. Healing is not a trend, it's not a buzzword or a hashtag. It's the real, raw, often painful process of returning to yourself, layer by layer, wound by wound. It's not pretty, it's not polished, and it doesn't happen overnight. But it's necessary, because no matter how far you run, how much you achieve, or how well you perform, if you don't heal what's broken within, it will show up again and again in every area of your life. In your relationships, in your decisions, in your silence, in the way you love or avoid love, in the way you chase or sabotage or hide. Healing is not about fixing who you are, it's about reclaiming who you were before the world told you to shrink. Many people are focused on success, but very few are focused on wholeness, and there is a difference. You can succeed on the outside and still feel hollow inside. You can win the awards, collect the checks, and still battle with voices that tell you you're not enough. Why? Because unhealed pain doesn't disappear, it disguises itself. It becomes perfectionism. It becomes control. It becomes people-pleasing. It becomes overworking, underloving, overthinking, avoiding. And the scariest part, you can get so used to carrying pain that you forget it's even there. But healing doesn't wait forever. Sooner or later, your soul will start knocking. Your body will start breaking. Your joy will start fading. That's the moment healing becomes not just a desire, but a necessity. True healing asks for your honesty. It asks you to sit with things you'd rather ignore. The childhood memories, the betrayals, the decisions you regret, the shame you buried deep. It asks you to stop pretending you're okay when you're not, to stop dressing wounds with productivity, to stop escaping your past by overplanning your future. Healing says, come home, face this, feel this, walk through this, and yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it might break you open, but only things that are open can be truly filled again. That brokenness, it's not the end, it's the beginning of becoming whole again. No one can do the healing for you. They can love you, support you, walk beside you, but the inner work is yours alone, and that's what makes it powerful, because when you heal, you're not just rewriting your own story, you're breaking generational patterns. You're shifting energy, you're creating new blueprints for what love looks like, what strength sounds like, what peace feels like. Your healing isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's a gift to everyone connected to you, now and in the future. Because healed people show up different, they speak different, they lead, parent, partner, and dream different. And when you do the work to heal, you become a walking permission slip for others to do the same. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel like you're making progress, other days like you're back at the beginning. That's normal, that's human, but never mistake a hard day for a wasted one. Growth doesn't always feel like victory, it often feels like resistance. Like wrestling with the old while reaching for the new. Like crying over things you thought you were done grieving. That's okay. Healing isn't about perfection. It's about presence, about showing up to your own pain with compassion instead of criticism. About choosing yourself again and again, especially when it's hard. You don't have to have it all figured out to start healing. You just have to be willing to look inward instead of outward. Willing to stay present instead of numbing out, willing to choose growth over comfort, truth over illusion, peace over performance. Healing is not a destination, it's a way of living, a daily decision to return to yourself, to love yourself, to fight for your freedom. Not because you're broken, but because you're worthy, always have been, always will be, and the moment you believe that, that's when the real healing begins. You are not in competition with anyone but who you were yesterday. That truth alone can change everything. The moment you stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline, you begin to honor your own path, and hear this clearly. Your path is sacred. It's not supposed to look like theirs. Your growth won't follow their pattern. Your victories may come in quiet waves instead of public applause, but that doesn't make them any less powerful. The world will try to convince you that you're behind, that you need to catch up, that you're somehow missing out. But what if you're not late? You're just on your asterisk time. Comparison is a thief. It doesn't just steal your joy, it robs you of your asterisk presence. Asterisk because every second you spend watching someone else's journey is a second you've abandoned your own. And it's not just about jealousy, it's deeper than that. It's about the silent ways we shrink ourselves because we think someone else is doing it better, more successful, more attractive, more popular. But comparison is built on illusion. You don't see the full story. You see the curated version, the highlight reel. Meanwhile, you're judging yourself on your behind the scenes, and that's not fair. That's not truth. That's a trap. You weren't made to copy. You were made to asterisk create. Asterisk, your uniqueness is not a liability. It's your leverage. But you'll never access it if you're busy trying to become someone else. Too many people dilute their power trying to fit into someone else's mold. But authenticity is magnetic. When you embrace your truth, flaws, brilliance, all of it, you stand out without even trying. You don't need to prove your worth by outperforming someone else. You prove your worth by showing up fully as asterisk yourself asterisk. That's the real flex, that's the real freedom, and let's talk about this need to keep up. Keep up with what? With who? Half the people you're trying to impress are too distracted to even notice your effort. And even if they do, their validation is temporary, fleeting, unstable, but your peace, your alignment, your joy, that's real, that's lasting, and that's the gift of focusing on your lane. You stop performing and start asterisk becoming. Asterisk, you begin to live from a place of depth instead of desperation. You stop racing and start rising, and when you rise in alignment, not only do you feel better, you do asterisk better. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do in a world obsessed with comparison is to asterisk stay grounded. Asterisk to wake up and say, I'm not going to measure my worth today by likes, followers, or someone else's milestones. I'm going to measure it by how aligned I feel with who I truly am. That takes courage, it takes discipline, but it also builds a quiet power in you, an inner confidence that doesn't need to be loud to be real. You start to move differently, think differently, speak differently. Because you're no longer trying to win someone else's race, you're running asterisk yours. Asterisk, when you stop competing, you start connecting. You start seeing people not as threats, but as mirrors, reflecting something you can learn, admire, or simply bless without it diminishing your light. And that shift, it changes everything. Your energy becomes lighter, your relationships become deeper, your journey becomes richer, because now your focus is no longer on beating someone else, it's on becoming the truest version of asterisk you. Asterisk, and there's no competition for that. There's only one voice, one path, one you, and that is more than enough, always has been. So now the choice is yours. You can keep looking outward, measuring, comparing, chasing, or you can turn inward and rise. You can reclaim your time, your voice, your energy, and decide that from this moment on, your life will be built on intention, not imitation. You owe it to yourself to focus on your growth, your healing, your purpose. Because when you shift that focus inward, everything around you begins to align. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop surviving and start living. And the world doesn't need another cop. It needs the fullness of you. Unapologetic, undistracted, unstoppable. So focus on yourself, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And in doing so, you don't just change your life. You show others it's possible to change theirs too.